What's kicking, everybody? We are back for another episode of Pickin' Fights. I'm Keith, joined as always by Tom. Tom, how are you?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm
I
doing
realize I,
great.
I realize I don't ask you that enough. You always ask me how I'm doing, and I do. Oh, I'm good. I'm doing good. Can't wait to get to the fights. And you're like, okay, great. And you're all there by your lonesome. How are you, Keith? How many times has anyone ever asked you how Keith is? How is Keith?
No, nobody ever asks me how I am, but I'm doing pretty good. You know, we got UFC 266, and it was one of the best main events of all time, in my humble opinion. We'll save that for another time. I mean, if you're out there watching this show trying to find out about UFC Vegas 38, then you probably watched UFC 266 and you know how incredible that Alexander the Great Volkanovski versus Brian T. City Ortega main event championship fight was. So, we'll save that for another time. Tyler, how are you tonight, bro?
Oh, dude, I'm great. And by the way, I just want to say that I have asked Keith how he's doing before in our episodes of Pickin' Six.
Yeah.
I'm doing fantastic. I'm happy to be back. I know that you had a fantastic weekend, Keith. I was very pumped to see how well you did, and I was happy to hype you up to everybody I know.
Thank you. Yeah, he's referring to our blog over there on pickinwinners.org. Go check it out. We got plenty of good sports posts on there, lots of good picks and predictions, as well as on our Instagram @_pickinwinners and our Twitter of the same @name. And make sure all you kind people at home watching this video, like, subscribe, and comment down below what you thought of our fantastic weekend. Tom also had a great weekend. I believe you went 11-1, Tom.
Yeah, I don't brag about it. Act like you've been there. So this is normal occurrence for me. You want to celebrate? I get it. I remember when I realized I had a talent for it, but nowadays it's just kind of take it in stride and move on. 11-1. Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah, Tyler brought it up. I wasn't going to bring it up myself, but Tyler brought it up, so I had to give it a little bit of shine. Tom, why don't you?
I had to pump the tires.
Yeah, well, Tom, why don't you do the ad read for this week?
All right. This episode of Pickin' Fights is brought to you by Orange Products. Orange, like Apple, but they don't use slave labor. You may not be able to afford Orange products, but at least you'll be able to sleep well at night knowing your phone, your laptop is not brought to you by slave child labor. That was Orange Products. Go to orangeproducts.com/pickinfights for 1.5% off of your products. Like they said, it's made in America, so they have to pay $20 a person. And unfortunately, these phones are going to be exorbitant, so they can't afford any discounts. Not a great company, but again, no child labor.
Yeah. Well, we love American made, even if the technology isn't as good. So this week we got UFC Vegas 38. It's actually a pretty good fight card to follow up, and a great fight card at UFC 266. So I'm going to kick it off with my prelim lock. Now, this guy is a bit of a live dog. I'm going with Jamie Mullarkey. I'm going with Jamie Mullarkey over Devontae Smith. Now, my main reason for that is, listen, it's not Jamie Mullarkey's first time being an underdog. And, he's been there before, right? Absolute live dog in here. He was an underdog against Kama Worthy and ended up knocking him out in 46 seconds. He was actually more of a dog in that one. And, on paper, his striking stats aren't really there just yet. They're really nothing to gawk at. He's landing 30% of takedowns. So, he doesn't look like the best fighter on paper, but he puts on a good show and he fights really, really well, right? He's got a good fight history. He's been in some wars, especially, and in my favorite of his fights against Brad Riddell at UFC 243. Now, he ended up losing that one by a decision to Brad Riddell, but he also won Fight of the Night. So that was a pretty big bonus that hit him at the end of the night there. And the most important thing to watch out for in this one, Devontae Smith, super, super chinny. He's gotten knocked out by a lot of guys before, and most noteworthy when you're talking about Jamie Mullarkey coming up against him, he got knocked out by Kama Worthy, who Jamie Mullarkey just KO'd. So by MMA math, Jamie Mullarkey knocking out Kama Worthy knocking out Devontae Smith. I think Jamie Malarkey should knock out Devontae Smith. Odds coming into this one, live dog, plus 128 on FanDuel. So I'm rolling with Jamie Malarkey. That is my one and only prelim lock this week. Don't usually roll with a big not big underdog, but don't really usually roll with underdogs for my prelim locks. But this week I'm really feeling Jamie Malarkey, the Aussie. Tom, what do you got for us on way of prelim locks?
So mine, I don't think I'm picking any underdogs, but we'll see as we go here. The first one, I have Alejandro Perez over Johnny Eduardo. And the simple fact is Johnny Eduardo is 40. He's okay. This is going to sound weird, but we don't actually know how old he is. He's somewhere between 41 and 43 years old. He's had a 3-year layoff. Alejandro Perez has just been better lately. He's a younger guy. I mean, listen, you're coming in Alejandro Perez. He's 32 years old, coming in against a 43-year-old, potentially a 41-year-old Johnny Eduardo. Johnny Eduardo, he's 2-3 in his last 5. Alejandro Perez coming off of 2 losses, but he knows that this is do or die for him. He's got to win. He's got to stay in the UFC. Eduardo is just, I don't think there's anything further beyond this for him. So for that reason, I'm picking Alejandro Perez over Johnny Eduardo. Something I feel a little bit better about is because with that one, you don't really know what it's going to be. You don't know what Johnny Eduardo you're going to get. He's been out for 3 years. Yes, he's old. I don't think he's going to be good, but you never know. This next one I'm going with, her name is Betch. I want to say it? I want to say this correct. It's Betch Correa. Betch Correa over is fighting Carol Rosa. Betch Correa fighting Carol Rosa, and I'm taking Carol Rosa. We were just talking about a 43-year-old guy coming in, and he may be retiring. He probably doesn't have too long after. This is Betch Correa, Pitbull Correa. This is her retirement fight. She's not fighting after this. So think about her mindset coming into this fight. I'm coming in, I'm basically collecting a paycheck, doing one last rodeo, and then riding out. She's coming in against Carol Rosa, who is 26 years old, going on 27. She has won each of her last 5, 14-3 overall. She's coming in. She's hungry. She wants to be a title contender. She's longer. She's obviously not more experienced, but I think she's going to be more motivated in this fight. Like I said, think about it. You're coming in and you know that this is your last fight, and then you're retired. You're giving it one last go versus somebody who's coming in and still wants to be a champion. Carol Rosa's looked good in a lot of her last few fights. And I think ultimately her length and her determination is really what's going to power her past Betch Correa, Pitbull Correa in this fight.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, dude. And, you want to talk about older fighters, particularly, well, no, I won't even say it like that, but older fighters, we had Marion Renault fighting Miesha Tate almost, a month and a half ago now. And Miesha Tate went out there and kind of dominated Marion Renault, won by TKO. And Marion Renault, similar situation, older woman, last fight on the contract. The major difference is that Marion Renault wanted to get a win here, and I don't think that Betch really wants to get a win the same way that Marion Renault did. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on. I'm with you on that Carol Rosa pick. I'm also very much with you on Alejandro Perez. Tyler, what did you think about our prelim locks? So we make strong enough arguments for you? You little casual, huh? What'd you think?
Listen, I think I'm as casual UFC as they come. I feel like I've told you that 100% told you that before. But I feel like your prelim locks historically, they do pretty well. How could I not join the boys in their prelim locks for this weekend?
Well, with such a glowing review of our prelim locks, how could I not go ahead and give you 2 more? We were talking about how, and this is going to be a theme. We're going to bring this up later on in the show, but we're talking about, and I've said it for a long time, when there are siblings in the UFC or in MMA more generally, both can't be good at the same time. Keith just talked about UFC 266 and how great it was. He talked about Volkanovski versus Ortega. What he didn't mention is Valentina Shevchenko lighting up Lauren Murphy just as everyone thought. It took her until the 4th round. A lot of people thought it would happen sooner. But, Valentina was a lot like a tiger, just kind of playing with its food, figuring out how they want to get it done. And then now this week, that brings us to the other sister. Antonina Shevchenko is taking on Casey O'Neill. Valentina won. We know there can only be one good sibling at a time. I'm taking Casey O'Neill over Antonina Shevchenko this weekend. Casey has the reach. She has a solid stand-up, but she will most likely try to take this fight to the ground, and that's where Casey O'Neill specializes, and where where Antonina really struggles is on the ground. Antonina lost to Roxanne Modafferi by the fight growing to the ground. Casey is solid on the ground. That's really kind of her specialty. So it's a potential unfavorable matchup for Antonina Shevchenko. So I'm taking Casey O'Neill. I feel confident in that. The only thing you got to look out for is, there is always that question mark of, yes, they're siblings or they're married. Antonina always training with and around Valentina. At some point, you got to figure a rub has to occur. But Antonina, I think she's 35, 36 years old, getting up there in age. I don't know if that's going to happen. And as she's getting older, I don't think that's more likely to occur. So I'm taking Casey O'Neill. And then one last quick one, I'm taking Joe Solecki over Jared Gordon. Gordon is moving up because he couldn't make 145. He missed it on a number of occasions, and he was able to use his size advantage in the 145-pound division to kind of bully people and get out of bad positions. Being at lightweight, he's not going to have that size or that weight advantage. And actually, Joe Solecki is probably going to be the bigger guy in the cage. So Solecki's known for being able to out-grapple people. He has earlier in his career definitely snapped a few elbows of people, maybe wrenching a little bit too hard on arm bars. The guy he's just an aggressive jiu-jitsu style grappler and has really good submissions. He's out-grappled Jim Miller. He has, like I said, he's going to have the size, he's going to have the weight, he's going to have the ground efficiency. I think Gordon has been KO'd in the past. He's lost 3 of his last 6 by KO. I just think for multiple reasons, I think Joe Solecki is probably better, or definitely better on the feet. Definitely better on the ground. But I think he can definitely make it competitive on the feet. But I think ultimately he's going to find a way to get it to the ground. I think he's going to be the bigger guy. And I think he's going to bully Jared Gordon a little bit.
Yeah, just want to go back to your Casey O'Neill pick. That was actually one of mine, but I did want to let you get your sibling rule out there. Casey, she calls herself King Casey O'Neill. She's another one to watch out for. I'm pretty good at picking out female fighters that are going to make a name for themselves at some point. Picking out Megan Anderson, who eventually got demolished by holy shit, her name is escaping me. What the fuck is wrong with me?
Amanda Nunes.
My god. Yeah, Amanda Nunes. Wow, I just had a massive brain fart. Well, listen, I think that Casey O'Neill, she's definitely someone that the UFC is eyeing up to potentially be a star for females in the UFC. And, just looking at Tapology, the worldwide rankings, and these Tapology people, we've said they're pretty smart. Tapology has her ranked as the number 23 current best female flyweight. I don't think they're wrong. I mean, she's 7-0 right now. She has a win over Laura Procopio, Shayna Dobson in the UFC. This is a woman who is definitely someone to watch out for as we keep going on. The Australian King Casey O'Neill. She's going to beat Antonina Shevchenko without a doubt. Tyler, what do you think of those 2 picks? I really like the Casey O'Neill one.
I'm going to ride with that one. I think that up-and-coming talent is good to recognize early and capitalize on making money while they're fighting in those, like you say, those prelim bouts before they make it big. So I think it'd be good to jump on her now.
Yeah, she's minus 210 coming into this one. So definitely great parlay bait with Casey O'Neill. Definitely a prelim lock. So we're going to move on to the main card now. First up, we got Aspen Lad versus Macey Chiasson. Listen, Aspen Lad, she doesn't have the size advantage in this one, right? Because Macey has a 72-inch reach advantage, which is going to make her difficult on the feet to deal with for a 66-inch reach Aspen Lad. But Aspen Lad is a way better grappler than Macey. She's going to have to take advantage of that. And we've seen in previous fights that she does. There's a reason that she's the number 3 ranked women's bantamweight right now. So, you know, and you look at Macey, she has trouble against grapplers, like someone I mentioned before, Marion Renault, old lady for UFC, at least, you know, nice lady, but older lady. And there's no reason why someone like Macey should be losing to Marion Renault. And then you look at Aspen Lad, she has good wins against people like Yana Kunitskaya, who Yana Kunitskaya is pretty good. She has a TKO over her, as well as a couple other TKOs under her belt, and a good decision win against Sasha Eubanks. So I'm liking Aspen Lad here. Let's see these odds. She's coming in at -230. Good parlay bait right there. I like it. Throw it in there. Can't see a way that she really loses against Macey. Macey's probably going to have some striking numbers there on her early, but Aspen Lad is just going to drag her down. And as Khabib says, take her into deep waters and, you know, test her courage. So I like Aspen Lad here. I'd imagine that Tom agrees. But I'm curious. Say, what do you think, Tom?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Aspen Lad's going to be the way better grappler. She's going to go there. She's going to be able to bring her down. You know, the win over Yana Kunitskaya says a lot about Aspen Lad's ability. Sars Eubanks still, you know, very solid for the division. But the thing that I found most impressive with that Yana Kunitskaya win from Aspen Lad is that she had the ability to go out and actually just finish the fight. You know, her coach was saying, you need to go out there, you need to finish it right now. And she went out and she did. And that's something that in women's MMA, not everyone has the ability to do. Not every woman who steps in the cage is going to have the ability to go out there and finish a fight with the, you know, either the ground and pound necessary or the punch. Like, it's weird that it almost looks like in women's fight that they don't, or women's fighting that they almost don't want to win. I don't know if it's an aggressive thing or a tenacity thing, but some women have it and some women don't. And Aspen Lad seems to have it, that you can go out there and just finish a fight. I don't think Macey Chiasson has that. I don't think she has nearly the competition. I don't think she's proved herself. She's older, and you also got to keep in mind we haven't seen Aspen Lad fight in a year and 9 months. And a lot of times we may think that that's going to lead to ring rust, and I think that's certainly a possibility. But I think it's also an even greater possibility that because she's only 26 years old, the time off is going to allow her to come in and be an even better version of the previous self that we saw. So I'm feeling good for Macey Lad. I feel good for Aspen Lad's going to win.
Okay. I like that. Great logic, dude. Yeah, and you're 100% right. The fact that she was able to sit with her corner in between rounds, I think they were telling her, like, get the finish, get the finish, get the finish. She went out there, finished Yana Kunitskaya. I think possible she does the same thing against Macey this weekend. Tyler, are you rolling with us with Aspen Lad?
I feel like I'm reliving the last episode I was on, and I think it's just a good rule of thumb. And if your fans of pick and fights don't follow this rule, if Keith and Tom agree, it's the right thing to do. Like, there's just it's pretty. You make my job, you make your fans, the people who tell you, that job very easy. So I'm absolutely going to join you.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that. So next up, we got Misha Krushnov. Serknov. I can't say his name.
Did the Hernandez Breeden fight get canceled?
It's not on the official UFC website, but actually I do have a pick for that, not gonna lie. I'm not seeing it on the UFC Fight Night card, but I don't see why they would take it off. So we'll jump into that one real quick, because I am still seeing it on FanDuel. So maybe the UFC website is actually wrong again.
Their website does suck.
Yeah, they were wrong this past weekend. They didn't have the oh my God, Roxanne Modafferi fight listed on there previously. So yeah, so we'll go into that Alex Hernandez versus Mike Breeden fight. And I'll start off by saying that Alex Hernandez is a -550 favorite in this one. And for good reason. Alex Hernandez is a massive rising star right now. You know, among like less casual circles, like people are starting to figure out who Alex Hernandez is. He just needs a few more like signature wins to get his name out there, because he does have wins over good opponents, right? Like he knocked out Beneil Dariush in 46 seconds, who is now one of the big guys in the UFC. Like he just beat Tony Ferguson on the Mike Chandler, Charles Oliveira card. and was asking Elon Musk for his Tesla, which Elon Musk gave him. So Beneil Dariush clearly making a name for himself, and Alexander Hernandez knocked him out in 46 seconds. And then he has good losses to guys like Cowboy Cerrone and Drew Dober, which, if you know anything about it, those guys, they kind of are something, they're kind of something. And then you look at Mike Breeden, who is a short notice opponent, and he's been knocked out before by guys with similar archetypes to Alex Hernandez. He's just taken on like trash opponents too. So Mike Breeden really doesn't have anything prepping him to come into this one. The short version of this, Hernandez is a few more good wins away from possibly being ranked, and Breeden hasn't fought a single person worthwhile even talking about on this show. So Alexander Hernandez minus 550, unless Mike Breeden has something in there that nobody's ever seen, because we hardly have ever seen him fight ever that we don't know about, and maybe Vegas, then we could be in for a little bit of a surprise this weekend. But I don't see a single way that Alexander Hernandez loses this one. Added bonus, I'd lock him in for a knockout TKO victory. Odds aren't up on that one just yet, but I'd lock it in there. What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not so quick to throw my money on it because, number one, because of how steep the odds are, there's very little return. And number two, because we don't know that much about Mike Breeden. Granted, last time we saw him on a UFC-style program was on the Contender Series a year ago, in which he lost via unanimous decision to Anthony Romero, who was 7-0 at the time. Listen, I'm not saying that he's going to win, but I'm saying we don't know a lot about Mike Breeden. So when he is plus whatever, or Hernandez is minus 550 in some books, I'm not that enticed. It's not like a fight that we know about the guys, and I'm really hard on this guy for, oh God, that sounded terrible. I really like this guy for whatever reason, one way or the other. You can't compare him as well when we just really haven't seen a guy and we don't know the level of competition that he's facing, how good the guys are, where the guys are really bad. What do your wins count? Like, he's fought a lot of guys and a lot of regional cards to get to 10-3. I think Alexander Hernandez is going to win. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know. We don't know about Mike Breeden, so I don't know. I'm definitely not betting on this fight. I don't see the benefit in it.
Yeah, I mean, the only benefit that I see to taking it straight up is just a little parlay booster. We always talk about those when there are odds like this. It could end up giving you an extra $1. It could end up giving you an extra $50.
And it could end up biting you in the ass.
Yeah, so I will personally sprinkle just a slight bit on Alex Hernandez to win by TKO. Maybe it's a little bit of bias here, kind of the same argument I was making for Casey O'Neill, but I do think that there is that star potential within Alex Hernandez, definitely more with Casey O'Neill, but maybe there's a slight star potential with Alex Hernandez. Or maybe this guy, Mike Breeden's just really good and we don't know. Tough one. I'm still going with Hernandez here. Tyler, what do you think?
I think Tom made just a slightly good case for just to stay away, just because it seems like there's just a few too many unknowns going into this fight for the weekend. And like you said, minus 500, those odds just aren't. If I don't bet it and that it turns out that way, oh well, my feelings aren't hurt that bad. Something I'd be okay missing out on, but I'm gonna join Tom and just stay away from that one.
Yeah, it's tough. It's certainly tough. All right, so next up, we got
Misha Serkinov.
Misha Serkinov versus Krzysztof Jotko.
Mm-hmm.
So many Mishas in the UFC, I realized.
Well, this is a male Misha.
Oh.
Yeah. So I'm taking Jotko in this one. Krzysztof Jotko, he's coming in at minus 162. But I think that Vegas should probably give him a little bit more credit in this one, because Misha's only path to victory here is through grappling, and Jotko has a sneaky good grappling game. He's pretty good at stuffing the takedowns, and he's decent enough at striking to beat Misha standing up. But one major thing that we have to keep in mind with is that Misha is moving down to middleweight from light heavyweight, and that's a pretty big jump for someone to make. Almost, 20 pounds, Tom?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, so that's a 20-pound drop right there. And what do we always say? When someone takes a big dip in weight like that, it always affects their cardio. Krzysztof Jotko been fighting here. He's been about this. So I don't see a way that Krzysztof Jotko can really lose this one. And then another thing we got to look at with Misha is, like, even when he's fighting guys that aren't grapplers, and he should be taking advantage of the fact that he can grapple pretty well, he still makes really bad decisions and doesn't take advantage of his grappling power. So I'm definitely rolling with Krzysztof Jotko, especially at minus 162. I'm throwing him in my parlay this weekend without a doubt. Tom, what do you got on that one?
Yeah, this is one that I am going to wait to see the weigh-in to ultimately decide on. Because here's my thing is, yes, Krzysztof Jotko does have a sneaky good ground game. However, Mirza Serkinov, if he can make weight or if the fight just happens, right, he's going to be way bigger. So grappling, yeah, that it works to a certain extent, but when the bigger guy is maybe slightly less skilled or at least in the same ballpark, a lot of times the bigger guy is going to be able to win. So that's what concerns me about this. He is making a big weight cut. The last time he fought was in January. It was in March, right? And he fought that to Ryan Spann. So that's at 205. And he was kind of a big 205er. So dropping that 20 pounds is going to be difficult, especially if you see this guy. I'm looking at him on Topology right now. I mean, he's a cut big 205er. Solid, not the biggest 205ers, but still solid. Dropping that 20 pounds is going to be a lot. But if he can do it, and that fight still manages to happen, he's definitely going to be the bigger guy in there. And, the other thing about Misha Serkinov, like you said, he's crazy at times. He's unpredictable. He doesn't have a great fight IQ, but sometimes he can be on and he can be there and he can put it all together when it matters. So ultimately, I'm actually torn on this one. And I was going to pick Jotko, and then you were like, oh, well, I just don't see how Jotko loses. So now I'm kind of want to pick Misha. Looking at Topology, literally 902 votes, split 50-50 down the middle. I don't know if I've seen that before. 64% of the 50 that think Jotko is going to win, 64% say decision, 27% by KO. Serkinov, we have 8% by TKO, 60% by submission. I don't know if I see that happen. I think it may be a decision. And then you get into, as he's older, is it going to... This is such a hard one. Training at Extreme Couture Toronto. Both of these guys, they stack up. The reach is the exact same. You know what? Screw it. I'm going to pick Misha Serkinov. I'm going to go against the grain a little bit. I don't think I'm going to bet on it with my wallet just because I'm not all that confident in it. I'm seeing a lot of the lines that opened up at Misha plus 140 going down to him now plus 120. Maybe it evens out. So call myself a sharp, and I'm taking Misha Serkinov to upset Krzysztof Jotko here.
Yeah, you did make a really good point there. We do have to kind of wait to see the weigh-ins, because if Misha does come in heavy and Krzysztof Jotko and his team and the UFC all agree, like, hey, let's take this fight anyway, well, then Krzysztof Jotko is not going to win that fight, like, plain and simple. Just bigger dog. That's just how it goes, especially because Jotko is going to be cutting weight. We've seen this plenty of times in the past. When people miss weight and they come in heavy, they usually tend to win. That's just simple point in fact. But at the same time, if he does make weight, that gas tank still does worry me. I do like this fight to go the distance. The odds aren't out on that just yet, but I actually do like, as based on Topology, based on what I'm thinking, I actually do like this to go the full 15 minutes. So keep an eye on what those odds are. I think that's important out there.
That would be the first time that Misha Serkinov has gone the full 15 minutes.
Well, I'm saying that because I think if he does cut weight, if he does make weight, he might be a little bit tired towards the end.
He has a win over Jan Kutalaba, 3rd round arm triangle.
But if he's tired towards the end, I don't know if he's going to have that sort of stamina to lock up like a 3rd round submission like he has in the past. It's tough. It's definitely a tough one.
No, I think you make a good point, because he's probably going to have maybe cardio issues as he gets towards the end of the fight. He's going to be able to lock something up. He's going to have the size advantage. But more than that, I think is Jotko. I mean, Jotko is going to be able to defend I'm saying he may not be able to completely knock Misha Serkinov off of him, but he probably will be able to defend, submissions off of him. So I don't know if I see Misha actually getting a full submission here and beating Jocko in such a way. I don't know if he's going to beat him on the feet to where he's going to be able to get a snap sub. So yeah, I think maybe I am leaning towards decision, and maybe I'm leaning towards Misha Cirkunov decision. I don't know. I think I wish I could take sub or points. I think Misha Cirkunov sub or points. That's probably a pretty good return.
Oh, probably, yeah. I like it when we talk things out like this. You know, I think we both just came to a pretty solid conclusion. I think we both agree that there's better odds than not that this probably will go the distance. I'm not going to say who I think is going to win by decision because I'm still taking Jocko as my official, like, who I'm picking in this fight.
So you just said who you think is going to win by decision.
Well,
I'm not going to say who I think is going to win the decision. I'm still picking Jocko. It's like you couldn't have contradicted yourself worse.
I'm making my official pick for the show because we have to pick who's going to win each fight. I mean, that's the name of the show, picking fights. I'm still picking Krzysztof Jocko to win this one. I just feel better about him, all things considered. But my favorite pick here is the fight to go the distance. You know, and ultimately that's down to the judge's discretion, you know? So, yeah. Tyler, what do you think? Plus, I gave you a compliment, dude. I said I like when we talk things out like this. Come on.
Oh, that was.
You know, let that slide,
dude. I was just watching the magic happen there at that point. You guys make such compelling arguments both ways. See, now you're making my job hard. For some reason, and through the most UFC casual ever, when Keith said about like having to keep up after dropping a significant amount of weight, it sounds to me that like that still puts someone at a disadvantage, even if they, even if they may be able to keep up, they might not be able to keep up the whole way. So I'm going to roll with Keith just to be the good guest picker that I'm trying to be and be interesting. I'm going to roll with Keith in this one.
Okay. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. I don't know if I made a good enough argument to warrant that, but either way, fight going the distance, whatever. So next up, we got Alex Oliveira versus Nico Price. This is probably one of outside of the last one, we had to talk that out and come to a conclusion. I think this is also a really tough fight to pick. One thing we got to keep in mind, though, is that Nico Price has 6 children and he has to feed those kids. Alex Oliveira has like 10 kids too, though, right?
Yeah, there's 16 children between these two gentlemen.
Yeah, there's a combined 16 children in between these two fighters, which is actually like one of the more impressive stats that we're going to talk about tonight. I really hope that I hear John Anik mention that on the broadcast on Saturday, because I do think that's a noteworthy stat.
He'll say it weird too. He'll be like, and for these guys, condoms, not what they know well. Both of them, 16 children when you combine them together. Like he'll say something like that, like just like so weirdly roundabout. These gentlemen hate condom. Both of them have 6 children. Another has 16 children. Like just something weird in his weird, like, I don't know. Obviously I'd be terrible on the mic because I can't even say it here, but he's going to say something. He's not going to just be like, oh, and they have a lot of children. Like he's going to bring something up about it. Like, oh, these men love coitus, huh? Something.
Yeah. And then he's going to follow it up with, they must be eating a lot of P3 protein, the official protein snack of the UFC. Like that. That's how they stay fueled up to make 16 children between the two of them. So I will say, guys, I mentioned this before. This is a tough one to pick. I'm taking Nico Price here, though. It's going to be tough. And, don't fault me if this one doesn't hit. But Nico Price or fault me, I don't give a fuck. Comment down below. Let me know how bad it sucked. Nico Price is definitely more of a gas tank type of guy than Alex Oliveira. Alex Oliveira is slightly older. I'm going to click and remind myself how old they are, and it's not on the UFC website. UFC really needs to fix their fucking website, man. It kind of sucks. But yeah, either way, Alex Oliveira is a little bit older. And I think, he's kind of taken his lumps throughout his career. He's gotten chinned up a lot. He's just gotten beat up throughout his career. And I don't know if he really has it anymore. The way that Nico Price is kind of still showing that he does. I'm torn on this one. So this might be another one we have to talk out. Tom, what do you think on this one? Are you taking Nico or are you taking Alex?
Yeah, I think I'm taking Nico because it seems like Alex just as the fight goes on, he seemingly gets worse. He's got a unanimous decision win over Peter Sabata, but he as the third round, he looked like he was falling in that one against Max Griffin. Same thing in the third round. He'd lost both of those third round matches to hold on for the decision. Same thing. Nicholas Dalby, Mike Perry. As these fights went on, he got worse and worse. He just when you look at his record of who he's faced, Mike Perry, Nicholas Dalby, those are losses. But Max Griffin, Peter Sabata, those are wins. And then once you get to Randy Brown or other people who are towards the top of the division, losses to Gilbert Burns, Donald Cerrone, the top of the Yancy Medeiros, top of the division guys is where he really seems to struggle. And I think Nico Price is kind of in that part of his career now to where he's getting toward the top of the division. And this is a guy who's lost to Vicente Luque, Jeff Neal, but his wins over, Randy Brown, who's a guy that Alex Oliveira actually recently lost to. Let me just double check on that to make sure I'm not. Yeah. So he lost to Randy Brown in the first round back in April. And, in 2018, that's a guy that Nico Price had beaten pretty not easily, but handily. He hammer fist from the bottom position in the second round. Ultimately, I just think Nico Price is a little bit better. Losses to Michel Pereira, not a terrible loss considering what he's doing in the division. He's moving up. I need Nico Price to win this. Ultimately, you look at it. Nico Price is 32. Actually, Nico Price is older than I thought. I thought he was going to be younger. So that's even more. Alex Cowboy Oliveira. I want to see Cerrone. Cowboy Oliveira has just kind of been around the block. I think he's been in more wars. I think has done more damage. I think Nico Price is going to be able to tough guy him almost, if that makes sense. Like he'll just be able to take more shots. I think he'll be able to kind of be more alive when the fight gets to the end. I think he'll take the third round. I think as long as if Nico comes out and he can take the first round, I think he's almost definitely guaranteed the third as long as he makes it there. I don't see him getting finished on the ground. I think he might even have a better Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and he probably has a better clinch game as well. So they about the same reach advantage or the same reach. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Nico Price here. But I think it's a really, really close fight. You look at Tapology. Actually, Tapology doesn't think it's close at all. 86% of the 900 people who voted are on Nico Price.
Yeah, well, I'm going to have to agree with the people at Tapology. Like I sometimes do, sometimes fade the public. But you just made a really good argument. Just doing some MMA math there and figuring out like who's beat who recently, and Nico Price beating guys that have beaten Alex Oliveira recently. I think that really bodes well for him. I like going back and watching that Nico Price Michel Pereira fight because like there were a lot of moments in there where like you're like, yo, Nico Price is losing this one, and he did eventually lose it by decision, but he still hung in there, and that was an absolute battle. So we know he's a battler. We know his gas tank doesn't wear as easily. It started to wear a little bit in that one, but I'm definitely feeling Nico Price here. And just to highlight that Michel Pereira fight real quick. Remember when Michel Pereira was doing backflips and trying to land on Nico Price's face?
Yeah, what was that?
Bizarre. Someone was trying to make a viral moment, and he failed at it. But I think Michel Pereira's done that before too. I don't know why he always does that. He tries to like Tyler, and for anybody at home that's not familiar with him, you might remember he fought the same night as McGregor Poirier back in July 10th, I believe, and. Okay. Michel Pereira had Nico Price on his back and was like doing backflips and trying to like land on his face. So entertaining. I don't know if this Nico Price fight is going to be as entertaining as that one, but it should still be a battle that I think ultimately Nico Price is going to come out on top of, especially supported by Tom's argument there. Tyler, what do you think? You with us on Mr. Nico Price, 6 kids to 10 kids? What do you think?
Yeah, even if he has less kids, he has more endurance, and that's what matters in the UFC. In a fight where 2 grown humans beat the shit out of each other, the one who could do it longer seems to come out on top. So I'll absolutely be joining you with Nico Price.
All right, good pick, my man. So, in the co-main event, we have Kyle Dawkis taking on another guy who's on a bit of a downslide in his career, Kevin Holland. I think this is going to be an interesting matchup. And, you know, Tom's always talking about how one sibling can only be the better sibling. And, you know, Chris Dawkis just went out there and knocked out Shamil Abdurakhimov, and it was quite impressive. You know, he made him look like he was given the Gluck Gluck 9000 with how much spit came out of Shamil's mouth the other night. Yeah, that was gross. And I forget who was roughing that. Was it Mark Hunt? I mean, it looked like he had a personal vendetta against Shamil Abdurakhimov because
it looked like the fight was over, and then they were just like, "No, keep beating him up. He's on the ground. Get him."
Yeah, it should have been over in the first round when he dropped him with one great cross, and then I don't even know why they let that continue. And then Shamil had to get carried out by stretcher after the second round. It was devastating. I hope his neck is okay, but I hope he doesn't fight in the UFC anymore, because after that, you're done. And Chris Dawkis actually announced today is going on to fight Derek Lewis in December. So,
December.
December. They're headlining a fight night. Pretty quick turnaround. Derek Lewis, you know, everybody knows Derek Lewis at this point. Love him, hate him. You know, that guy doesn't give a fuck. So that's going to be a great fight. Anyways, Kyle Dawkis is Chris Dawkis' brother. Chris Dawkis has proven to be the superior brother so far. You know, Kyle Dawkis has a couple of recent losses, including his last fight against Phil Hawes, which was a decision. And then 2 fights ago, he lost to Brendan Allen via decision. And now he's fighting Kevin Holland, who Kevin Holland has been losing a lot lately. He lost to Marvin Vettori, and then before that, he lost to Derek Brunson, and both times just getting out wrestled. So my big question in this one is Kyle Dawkis' wrestling good enough to take advantage of Kevin Holland? And if it is, has Kevin Holland been training at ATT with Daniel Cormier and Khabib? And has he been training and rolling? AKA, I'm sorry, not American Top Team. Yeah, AKA. And has he been rolling with those Dagestanis enough to improve in the wrestling realm where Kyle Dawkis won't take advantage of him? These lines are close, right? We got Kyle Dawkis. He's a plus 128 dog, and Kevin Holland is minus 158. So I'm really shaky on this one. But due to Tom's one sibling is more superior than the other rule, I'm going to have to take Kevin Holland, take him to snap out of this downslide. While I would like to take Kyle Dawkis, I do like the Dawkis brothers a lot. I have a feeling it's going to be very similar to all these other siblings, where we see Chris Dawkis sitting at the top of the heavyweight division, and Kyle Dawkis is going to be a very mid-tier middleweight going forward. I'm rolling with Kevin Holland here, although not going to throw it in my parlay because, like, dude, Kyle Dawkis could surprise us, and Kevin Holland could just be Kevin Holland and lose yet again and laugh about it after. I don't know. I'm taking Kevin Holland here, though. And Tom, who are you taking?
I'm going to take Kevin Holland as well. Kyle Dawkis, he fought Phil Hawes, and Phil Hawes took him down twice. And Kyle Dawkis is supposed to be the ground guy. And Phil Hawes, granted, Phil Hawes is solid, but Phil Hawes took him down twice. When he fought Brendan Allen, he took Brendan Allen down 3 times and still lost. So when you're the ground guy and you get takedowns and you lose, and then you get taken down and you still lose, it doesn't really spell well for your game plan, especially when you really don't have that competent of a stand-up and you're going against Kevin Holland, who, if you isolated Kevin Holland's stand-up, it's really good. It's really good. I mean, at 185, he's maybe not Israel Adesanya, but he's probably on that path. I mean, he's got a very, very good stand-up. And you noticed it in, like, the past few fights that he's had. I try to remember, and I clicked on the wrong guy, of course. But when you look at the last few fights that Kevin Holland has had, actually, when he was on his feet against Marvin Vettori, he was competent. He's actually beating Marvin on the feet in some areas of the fight. Marvin just took him down and held him there. Same thing with Derek Brunson. And you look at both of this guy's prior 2 losses, Derek Brunson, he's being talked about going and fighting for the belt. He's got a big fight that was just announced, and he's going to, he just beat Darren Till. I mean, the run that Derek Brunson's on is crazy, and then you look at Marvin Vettori just got done fighting for the belt. And, on Judge Keith, on Judge Keith's scorecard, he had him winning. But I don't think.
No. He won one round.
So I don't think that fight was all that close. But still, if you're losing to guys who are then going on and fighting for the belt and being at the top of the division, and those guys' only way of beating you is on the ground, and then you're Kevin Holland, and you go to oh my God, you got me mixed up. You go to AKA, this is weird. American Kickboxing Academy is known for a bunch of grapplers. I never understood that. I know it's like an influx, and it's just where they're at with their team now, but it is very weird. That besides, we've been working with Johnny Hendricks, and he's got the whole Hala Medov, and he's got the jokes about having the Dagestani beard. I mean, Kevin Holland is known pretty much since the Marvin Vettori fight, which granted wasn't that long, but for the last 5 months, all he's been focusing on is his grappling. I think he's going to be able to avoid takedowns from a guy who's not that great at takedowns as it pertains to the UFC. Also, Kyle has the fact that his brother is much better than him working against him in this situation, and that really makes it the most of the lock for me. Kyle's been dropped lately. He's been losing fights standing up. This is really supposed to be a bounce back fight for Kevin Holland. I think the UFC wants Kevin Holland to be a star. They like the big mouth persona. They like that he talks to people. It's entertaining. It's good for business. It's good for eyes. It's good for draws. They don't want to waste him and have him go out on 3 fights. They're giving him someone who can prove that, hey, I can defend the takedown, because granted, this guy's a grappler, but he's not that good at it. So, it's really a perfect fight for Kevin Holland to come back, show that his ground game is much improved, and piece him up on the feet. Look at Topology, 982 voters, 84% Kevin Holland. I think this is one that Kevin Holland really, really needs to win, should win, can win, will win.
I definitely agree. I mean, I will say there is that slight part of me there that's like, Kyle Dawkis, could he finally take care, or could he use his grappling to his advantage? Could he actually pull a win out here against a guy who doesn't really have grappling on his side? But I think you're right. I think we're both right. And Kevin Holland is going to piece him up on the feet, and Kyle Dawkins won't be able to do shit about it. Tyler, you rolling with us with Kevin Holland? Or, maybe this is the one where you deviate from us a little bit, right? And you're like, you know what? I'm going to take the riskier play here. It's not so risky because Kyle Dawkins technically on paper still is a live dog here. I think this might be the one where you should pick Kyle Dawkins, and then in like a week from now, you could be like, guess what, guys? I was right.
Dude, it's I feel like when we do these shows together, like, I don't know if people read my mind, but like literally before I was like, what if I just out of nowhere told both of them, fuck you both, and I just picked the other guy? I don't know. Two things I do like is that UFC is a transitive property of like, if A is greater than B and B is equal to C, therefore A is better than C type thing that UFC has about, like, if this guy beat that guy, then that sort of thing. I also like but I also am a fan of, I would love to fade you just for shits and giggles, but I also am a huge believer in the unwritten rules of gambling on your sport. Like, when I gamble on lacrosse, I follow the unwritten rules of the PLL, of college lax. And so Tom's brother's rule that he likes to follow, I think I'm going to stick with Kevin Holland. I know maybe one of these days I'll just say, you know what, fuck the boys at picking fights. I'm smarter, I'm better, but that's not going to be right now.
Yeah, you just got to watch a little bit more MMA. Maybe you'll be there someday, dude. All right, so finally in the main event, we got Thiago Santos versus Johnny Walker. Odds on paper, I'm going to check these out real quick. I do believe they are very, very close, and they are sort of close. Minus 162 for Thiago Santos and plus 132 for Johnny Walker. Now, this is not the guy on the liquor bottle. This is an actual UFC fighter. But this is going to be a clash of a fight. And like, in a way, this is kind of possibly like a mirror image type of fight, right? Where both of these guys have somewhat similar records. Well, Thiago Santos is he's 0-3. Yeah, he's on a 3-fight skid here in his last 3, and it would be his first win since February 2019 if he did do it. And then, like, you look at Johnny Walker on the other hand, he's 2-2 in his last 4 fights, but he's coming off of a knockout win against Ryan Spann, who just got choked out by Anthony Smith. So, kind of similar. I don't know. But, you look at these guys, right? Like Santos is a way more like sharp technical striker, and Johnny Walker's a little bit more wild. He's also a little bit stronger. He's put a lot more guys out. But Thiago Santos, I feel like he's on this skid right now. He's 0-3 in his last 3. I don't think this is going to the ground at all. So it really comes down to who's going to be better on the feet. And I think it's just going to be Johnny Walker, dude. Like, I'm leaning towards Johnny Walker in this one. Plus, I like the underdog money in this one. I could end up being wrong, but, this is a tough one. This is a really tough one. But I like Johnny Walker. He's explosive. He's a little bit more wild. I think Thiago Santos is in his like Tyron Woodley years right now, where he's a little bit more scared to throw his hands when he's in the octagon. So for all that, that sloppy argument right there, I'm rolling with Johnny Walker here, and I kind of like him to win it by knockout too. That's just me though, but I'm curious to hear what Tom has to say.
I think both of these guys. So Johnny Walker, he can either be the guy who's going to run in real crazy and get caught. Thiago Santos loves to throw the check hook, and he's got a real powerful check hook. So if Johnny Walker decides he's going to be wild and try to rush in and do something crazy, he's real explosive, like you said. If he tries something like that, I'm really going to favor Thiago Santos. This guy's been around the block. He is 37 years old, so he's getting up there in age. Obviously the bigger of a guy you are, 205, 225, kind of the longer it takes for your skills to wane, especially when we're talking about power being the last thing to go. He also said he's on a 3-fight skid. Yeah, but that 3 fights is to John Jones, and then he got his knees torn apart in that John Jones fight, so he had to recover from that. And then he got double ACL surgery. Then he comes back against Glover Teixeira. He loses to him via rear naked choke, and Glover's now fighting for the belt. And then he goes on and he fights Alexander Rakic. And honestly, there was a really good fight against Rakic, but Rakic just kind of tore up his legs. And Santos, he doesn't really have legs anymore. And earlier in his career, he was a big kick guy. I don't think he's going to kick that much anymore. I think he's going to try and wait for Johnny Walker to come in and try and hit it with the hooks. Things that people haven't really been talking about is that he does have some potential chin issues. Looking at Thiago Santos's record in his last few, he had the loss to, where is it? So he had the loss to John Jones via split decision, right? So some people think he won that, but his knees got torn apart. Rear naked choke against Glover, and then a decision loss against Rakic, and he's been stunned in a lot of those. He's been hit, he's been wobbled, his knees have gone out. So he's been showing potential to have chin issues. As you get older, they'll start to compound, and you add that in with, kind of maybe time, wearing on him and his inability to throw kicks anymore. The fight with Rakic was close. Rakic can go on to potentially be a champ in this division, so a loss to him really doesn't say anything that poor. He's guy's 13-2 or 14-2 now. Johnny Walker, like you said, not the Johnny Walker from the Scotch bottle. He's younger, he's wild. He's been training for the last year or so that could help him with some issues that he's had with his chin and getting dropped. I think the UFC would prefer he win, Johnny Walker, that is, over Thiago Santos, because I think Thiago Santos being 36, 37 years old, what are they going to do with him moving forward with the knees? He's a kind of a shell of who he used to be. And Johnny Walker he's wild. You think like Johnny Walker versus, the top of the division, like a Yuri Prochazka type of, 205er. That's something wild. Maybe, we have Dominic Reyes can make a return at 205 or something and work his way back up the rankings. And that's your kind of your new era. All that being said, Johnny Walker does get wild, and when he's wild, he tends to keep his hands down. Like I said, he also tends to lean in. He also tends to keep his chin high. I think he's going to be taller in this fight. Yeah, he's 6'6" versus Thiago Santos is 6'2". And I know we talk about height doesn't matter in terms of an advantage, but I think that, there's maybe at least a solid chance that when Johnny gets wild and comes in, because he's taller, because his chin's high, he can leave it open for Thiago Santos to peg it for a guy who's potentially had chin issues. I don't like that. Like you said, I don't think it's going to the ground. Is Thiago Santos going to be able to check the kicks of Johnny Walker? Is he going to allow his experience to prevail? Is Johnny Walker going to be predictable? Is he going to be reserved? Is there even a version of him that's predictable? There's a lot of questions that surround this. Ultimately, though, I'm going to have to, when there's all those questions, I'm going to rely on the experience. I'm going to go with Thiago Santos because I think Johnny Walker is wild. I think he's going to rush in. I don't know. We just haven't seen a real composed version of him yet. So until we see that, I'm not going to hold out hope that there is that. So I'm going to go with Thiago Santos. We know that he's got power in his hands. We know that he's a good counterpuncher. We know he's got the good check hooks. I think Johnny Walker's wild. I can see him rushing in and being taller, having his chin up, being a little bit more green in the space. I think all of that is going to potentially lead for me as a better. I'm going to bet on Thiago Santos. I think it's there. I think Thiago Santos by TKO. Probably if you could do like a TKO or decision, you do that double option thing. I know not all books have it, but I like particularly doing that. It's a little bit better odds, and it kind of covers covers you a little bit better as far as what could happen. Looking at some of the losses that Johnny Walker has, he's got the win over Ryan Spann, but losses to Nikita Krylov and Corey Anderson. Solid guys to, have losses to, beat Misha Serkinov. But ultimately, I just think the competition that Thiago Santos has been against is just better, and I'm picking Santos for the win.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I did just notice something looking at Johnny Walker's fight history, and this is very on the spot, but you know what? I like this prop a lot, and because I'm rolling with Johnny Walker here, and I think that it's kind of the way that the UFC is setting it up. They want an exciting, big banging light heavyweight type of fight like they usually have on these fight night cards, draw a little bit more eyes to it. One thing I'm noticing about Johnny Walker, I don't think a single one of his wins have gone past 2 minutes and 45 seconds. The longest one that I'm seeing is against Ryan Spann, and that's a knockout. But all of his wins, none of his wins have gone longer than 2 minutes and 45 seconds. So instead of just taking Johnny Walker straight up, actually alongside taking Johnny Walker straight up, I'm also going to take Johnny Walker by knockout in the first round. That's how good I'm feeling about him. That's how much I like him to throw his hands. Now, this could go down like the Corey Anderson fight where he lets the hands go and Corey Anderson knocks him out in 2 minutes and 7 seconds. But I really like Johnny Walker to throw his hands and end this early. If he doesn't end it early, I don't see him winning it at all because that's just what his track record is. But
yeah, now that you say that, I'm going to pick the opposite. I'm going to take that Thiago Santos is going to know that that's going to be Johnny Walker's game plan. He's going to have the experience and the ability and the size and everything needed to defend that. I think that Johnny Walker is going to run in, and I don't think he's going to be, listen, if he's going for a first round knockout, he's not going to be throwing leg kicks, and I think that that's what could really get Thiago Santos because he has the bad knees. So I think if Thiago Santos can weather that storm, he doesn't have to even go a full round. It's really you just got to get through the first 3 minutes. I think he has enough experience to carry him, that far. I think he gets through the 3 minutes, and then this just becomes the Thiago Santos show as you go through. I'm picking Thiago Santos by decision. I think now that you said that, and actually, maybe I'm not. Maybe should allow Tapology to influence me more. 983 voters, 70% taking Santos, 87% of those people taking it by KO, 30% taking Walker, and 80% of those people taking it by KO. I might take Thiago Santos by decision. Maybe I'll look silly, but maybe I'll look smart.
Yeah, I'm still taking Johnny Walker by KO. This is one of those times I'm going to fade the public here. I actually feel pretty decent about this one. I feel pretty good about it. I mean, 14-2, no wins going outside of 3 minutes, 2 minutes and 45 seconds. Like I like that, especially against an older, nice gentleman like Thiago Santos. I don't know. I think now it's time that we toss it over to Tyler, and he's got to pick between the two of us. I will say we gave him some tough arguments to pick between, because if I was sitting there, I'd have a tough time right now.
Yeah, you guys don't make it easy. However, I've been sitting here trying to remember the fight, and I can't. It was this year, I believe, and I want to say it was Lewis, and don't quote me, but he rushed in, got snuck. I don't know if it was him or a different fight within that. Don't quote me.
It might be Curtis Blades.
Anyway.
who went for a takedown and got uppercutted by Derek Lewis.
There you go. So I'm going to be rolling with Tom and Thiago Santos. And I'll even take him by knockout. I think he might sneak him. You never know. When people come in wild, let their guard down, crazy things can happen. I've been burned by it before. So why as well cover my bases and don't let it happen again. So I'm going to roll with Tom and Thiago Santos.
Hey, I'm with you. It could happen, but I do like this. And, one thing to keep in mind, too, it's Johnny Walker's first ever main event. Now, he could be going out there trying to put on a show for the people. Listen, he could put his hands down, leave him low, and then all of a sudden Thiago Santos does hit him with one of those patented counter punches, counter hooks that just lands right on Johnny Walker's chin. I'm still rolling with Johnny Walker by first round knockout. That's still my official pick here. I'm not saying that Thiago Santos can't win, though. I mean, I think we all agree, this could go either way. It's going to be a fucking brawl, especially early.
I think the thing for Johnny Walker here is, just like you said, it's his first time headlining a card. And on top of that, when you have all of your wins coming in, not even the first round, but in the first half of the first round, there becomes, I think, this air of maybe pressure that, you put on yourself, or the media puts on yourself, or UFC puts, or whoever's putting it on you. There is this new air of pressure that you have to do it. So I think as he fights better competition and he goes out and he's looking for that first knockout, I think that it's going to only hurt him. Right. So I'm saying, I'm betting that that's what he's going to do. I think what he should do is come out a little bit more reserved, because I think he does have skills, but I think he should come out a little bit more reserved, use the leg kicks to chop at Thiago Santos, use, clinch in tight, throw some hooks, follow it up with a body kick, do things that are going to make him think about all of your skill set. But when you have this air around you that you finish fights quick, and this is your first, headliner, and you want to prove that this is the right thing, I think he can. I think he's going to leave him susceptible. But so that's why I'm picking Thiago Santos.
I would like to see that version of Johnny Walker that comes out. He's reserved. Maybe light up the legs a bit in the beginning, and then save it for the third round, then get all wild when Thiago Santos can't really put pressure on either of his legs. But hey, listen, I'm not his coach, and, I'm more of a couch coach when it comes to this type of stuff. Good at picking. We'll see how my record holds up after this weekend. So we'll run down our picks one more time for all you beautiful people back at home. So I am rolling with my prelim locks personally are Casey O'Neill and Jamie Malarkey. And then I'm taking Aspen Lad, Alexander Hernandez, Christoph Jocko, Nico Price, Kevin Holland, and Johnny Walker.
I am taking Alejandro Perez. I am taking Carol Hossa. I am taking Casey O'Neill, Joe Solecki, Alexander Hernandez, Aspen Lad, Mirsha Serkunov, Nico Price, Kevin Holland, and Thiago Santos.
All right. That was a great episode, guys. Thanks for joining me. Hope that you enjoy the rest of your evening, and have a good one. Hopefully we picked right. Hopefully I picked right. I want those 2 wins over you, kid.
Oh, just an update in the standings. Keith, you are sitting right now at 70-41, and I am sitting at 76-38 after my 11-1 weekend.
Since you did the math on that, I'm going to trust that about as much as people in the South trusted the last election.
I knew you weren't going to trust it. I knew you weren't going to trust it, and there was nothing I could have done to make you trust it. But just know that I knew you weren't going to trust it, so I tried to make these as trustworthy as possible. I went through everything, and I rewatched we'll run down our picks. I rewatched that video every single time, and I'm like, counting on my fingers and all of that. So yeah, dude, you're 70-41. There's no getting away from the fact that I'm beating you right now.
Well, if you want my best picks, they're always on pickandwinners.org. That's where I put the ones I'm most confident about. And on my blogs, I'm winning every single week. I'm up every week.
Yeah, so, I don't use that as a crutch. I don't wait till the end of the week to be like, oh no, these are the ones I actually meant. I stick by what I say on Tuesday. So get on my level. So you're saying I'm beating you, and I'm doing it in advance too?
I'm just giving out my best picks the day of, because that's when it matters the most, and I'm giving out my best ones. That's it. That's all I can say about that.
Right after all
right,
the lines
guys.
was moved. Yep, gotcha.
No, I still use the starting lines. I don't really pay attention to all that, but it's okay. I'm still making some people some money out there. It's all right. Those
All right.
vlogs. Those
Well,
vlogs.
I beat you last
vlogs.
week, so let's go. Let's double it up here.
Double it up.
All right. See you, folks.